Oh, there's Hugo.
What does that mean when we stand by? What are we actually doing?
Aren't you standing, Bruce?
I always wanted to say that,
So-
but I'm not sure it's appropriate. All right, we're standing
I'm
by.
getting ready to launch the rocket. So I do a 3, 2.
You got Biden and Harris on it?
I know.
Oh,
Careful.
Jesus.
We have to switch things over here manually. That's what we're doing. I think we're almost ready to go stand by. Another few seconds. There's
I
a
have
little
the
delay.
feed switched over, but I don't see it on the monitor.
Go over to all one.
I'm sorry?
All to one. All on input one on that monitor. On the
Okay.
electronics. All to one.
Okay,
One,
yep,
one.
we're all on one. And
Yep.
I
Now
see the
hit.
feed and we're live.
Okay, board, we are live.
Thank you very much, Paul. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the June 2021 meeting of the Town of Kent Planning Board. First, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you put the flag back up, please? Ah, there's Stephen. Who would like to start us off?
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
Flag,
of the
the
United
United
States
States
of
of America,
and to the republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands, one nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, everybody. Windows was updating.
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Good evening, Steve.
First, I'm going to ask everybody to, all the members, to say that they're their name and that they're alone. Let's start with Simon.
I'm Simon Carey, planning board member. I'm here on my own.
And Dennis.
I'm alone.
And Hugo.
I'm Hugo German. I'm alone.
And Giancarlo.
Hello, everyone. I am Giancarlo. I am a member of the Kent Planning Board, and I am banished to the basement alone.
And Stephen.
Wait, there you go.
Stephen.
Where'd he go?
I see him, but he doesn't seem to hear me.
In time.
And I'm Phil Tolmack. I'm here alone also. To start off with, I first want to say a thank you and a shout out to our own member, Charles Sisto, who had to resign, and I'm sure the planning board agrees with me to give him best wishes for the future. And thank you very much for long years of service on the planning board.
Here, here.
Amen to that.
Charlie, we're gonna miss you.
Here, here.
Oh.
Dedicated man.
Thank you,
Yes,
Charlie.
indeed. And
Thank
I
you.
would like to remind anybody who speaks that please say your name and your affiliation, please. Have all the members read the minutes from May? Is there any questions or comments on it?
Negative, affirmative.
Can I get a motion to approve May 2021 minutes?
I'll make that motion.
And a second, please?
I'll second it.
And Simon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Hugo?
Aye.
Giancarlo?
Aye.
Stephen, did you disappear? I don't see him. And I vote aye. Hopefully he'll come back. It is approved. Is there anyone here representing Friedman and Crossman property?
Hi, yes, James Hartford here from River Architects.
Yes, my name's Carl Hansen with River Architects.
Yes, hello. Could one of you give us a brief overview of why you're here?
Great. We are, and our client, Bryce Friedman is here as well. And Pinhan, pardon me, Pinhan Su from my office additionally. So we're here to, pardon me, let me just get a sip of water. Sorry about that. We're here to present to you our designs for a new house replacing an existing house on 5 China Circle, China Pond Circle. Sorry, I'll get that right this time. 5 China Circle Court on the China Pond. And it's a passive house that we're designing, so a house that uses very little heating or cooling energy, so we'll be consuming no fossil fuels on site. And our goal is to have this as essentially a net zero project when we're done. The bedroom count is the same, and we'll be using the existing septic system. We're also proposing to add a new garage that will have an office space above that will have a separate new septic system. Presenting from my office, Carl is going to walk us through the drawings. Pinhan is actually going to be the wizard making everything flow. So take it away, guys.
Thank you very much.
Great. So
please go ahead.
yeah, so as James mentioned, I'm Carl Hansen with River Architects. I'm sorry, go if you need to add some. Great. So our colleague Pinhan Su, if he's allowed to share his screen, will bring up the drawings for us. And maybe Pinhan, if you can start with the survey, the existing survey. Great. So let's go to the site plan, please, Pinhan.
Can you guys see?
Yep.
Okay, so as James mentioned, the property is, yep, excellent. The property is located at 5 China Circle Court. There is an existing 3-bedroom home on the property, which we will remove and build a new 3-bedroom home in its place with a detached garage and an office above, as James had mentioned. We are not seeking any variances or requesting anything additional. We meet all of the typical planning board requirements. If we go to the next, actually zoom into the zoning conformance chart, please. Pinhan, do you mind zooming into the conformance chart?
Yeah, I zoom in. Yeah.
There.
Oh, okay, it might be a little slow on my end, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So the new home, 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, 2 half baths. The new garage with an office above it will have 1 full bath. And as James mentioned, we'll be creating a new septic system to support that by itself. It's important to note the office above the garage is really primarily only for a home office use, not meant to be an apartment, not meant to serve any other purpose other than a personal home office. So let's go to the we're away from any setback requirements. There are no wetland soils on the property as well. We're well outside of the 100-foot wetlands setback from the pond as well. And let's go to the soil chart as well, please.
Okay, it's in the soil chart.
Okay. So yeah, as requested by the consultants through our previous meeting, we were asked to check the NRSD website for to make sure that there were no soil profiles that qualified as a wetlands or a hydric soil type. These have been shown and confirmed that none of those exist on the site. We simply have the, I believe the Charlton Loamy is the primary, with a little bit of the other, I believe that's identified up in the chart to the upper right corner. So now if we can move on to the floor plans. So the basement level will house mostly open space, game room use with mud room and mechanical storage space as well. First floor will have the primary living space, kitchen, living and dining with 2 bedrooms and a full bath, as well as a half bath off the entry foyer. It's important to note that these, this basement level is primarily below grade with direct access to the grade at the east face of the building, at the lowest point where the house sits on the property. And so once you're upstairs, then there's an entry off the northwest corner, primary entry for the first floor space, with that entry foyer, and then leading into the kitchen, living and dining space, and the bedroom wing off the back south end of the home. And then as you go upstairs to the second floor, it is the primary living suite with another home office off of that, or the primary bedroom suite, sorry.
Where's the garage?
And then the garage is across the driveway.
Can on please take a
Okay.
Yep.
Nothing's labeled. Where's the garage gonna be there?
This is the garage.
Yeah, why don't you put on the map there, proposed garage?
Yeah.
And then, proposed house. Are you on the same foundation as the existing house out there?
We're putting it on, we're replacing the existing house. It's sitting essentially directly over the footprint of the original house, but we're putting in a new foundation. It's completely
Okay.
on top of the existing.
All right, so your demolition of the existing house that's out there is gonna be pretty complete.
Right, yep.
Yeah, total, yeah, right down to the slab.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so just to walk through this, you're probably all familiar with the houses around there and in general. It's an older, weekend house that was added onto originally over the years. So it's sort of an amalgam of different houses kind of jumbled together. The basement steps and is, mostly uninhabitable, unusable. So we're kind of cleaning that up. So we'll be reusing the existing driveway, even hopefully the same landscaping at the entrance, the existing septic system, but replacing the 750 gallon tank with a 1,000 gallon tank per the recommendations of the town engineer.
I have one question. Do we have an existing survey map on this?
Yes, we do.
I don't see it on the package.
I have it up. How about I share my screen? Someone can let me, please.
The existing survey was submitted in the hard copy package as well, and the digital.
I'm assuming you're able to see this, my screen? Do you see the survey on my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. All right.
So here's the existing structure. Here's the existing driveway. The proposed garage is right here. So actually using the existing geometry of the driveway and the turnaround space. So we're just going to extend this in a porous paver area here and putting the driveway here. So we'll be taking down 2, maybe 3 trees of any substance there. One is a hemlock, and it's probably not going to last that much longer anyway. But so here's the existing dwelling. The septic is in this location right here. So this was prepared by Paul Rowan Surveying, and I believe you have a copy of it. March 15th is the date.
Okay, I must be.
Okay, shall I give it back to Pinhan?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Looking good.
Okay, so Pinhan, why don't you show us the garage now? So go back to where we were before.
Let me interrupt a second. How many trees are you taking down?
2, possibly 3. The trees are marked in the survey.
Thank you.
So there will be a 2-car garage, stair access up to the top, and then our home office with the full bathroom on the first floor there. As James had mentioned earlier on, too, the intent of the project is to reach net zero. So we have as much solar roof area as possible. And we are looking into also including battery storage on the project as well.
Gentlemen, do you have any other questions?
Are you proposing any stormwater storage? Caltex or anything like that?
Yeah, we have a storm water pollution plan being developed by John Kalin. Carl, you were in touch with him today. It was kind of coming in under the wire for today, but.
Yeah, we didn't receive it yet today, but he's currently working on the steep slope and erosion control plan for us. I expect that we should have it tomorrow or first thing next week.
Okay, good.
Liz, do you want to start here? Bruce?
Sure. So John and I were able to do a site inspection late this afternoon. And we both have some initial comments. We just had a preliminary review of the documents that have been presented, and we'll be, now that we've conducted the site visit, developing our review memos accordingly. But a few things come to mind, and of course, John, certainly chime in as needed. Number one, the wetlands area, even though the soils maps are showing certain things, the soil series are not site specific. And when we walked the site, we got down to the lake, and there's a flat area as shown on the topo, approximately 30 feet from the lake edge to the interior of the property. And you can see the topo break on the topo map that has wetland vegetation predominant. And as a result, that area would be considered Town of Kent wetlands. And so the wetland buffer of 100 feet would need to be adjusted accordingly on the site plan. I don't think it's going to actually impact the project, except if there is a need to upgrade a septic system or if the limit of disturbance requires it such to encroach on the wetland buffer. But for now, with that change, we still need to see the limit of disturbance that's proposed on the site plan. As far as the solar goes, I'm interested to see the calculations for the angles of the solar collectors. And I'm wondering if there'll be a need not to necessarily cut trees down, but do significant pruning to accommodate an adequate sunlight exposure for the solar collectors. And also I'd like to see the cut sheets on the batteries, generally storage of batteries. At this stage of the game required some special considerations. So, you know, the other question I have too is with the office that we're looking at with the garage, I just am wondering why there's a full bathroom in an office space. Generally what we see as a planning board group is a half bathroom in an office space. And I'm wondering why there's a shower stall in there accordingly. So John and I were talking about the need for erosion sediment control plan. That obviously, as I mentioned, is being developed. I want to find out if the architects have had a chance to talk to Bill Walters. They're tearing the building down. There is inadequate road frontage. They're indicating it's pre-existing non-conforming. That's probably right, but you should confirm that with Bill Walters. And also if there's any other zoning issues that might come up. So I would suggest you speak with them as soon as you can. Other than that, I look forward to looking at the documents and developing my review memo for our next meeting. John?
Yeah, I'm just going to chime in. Bruce, I echo what Bruce had said. They are going to require an erosion control permit. Their disturbance, as they have it listed, is slightly over 10,000 square feet. I'd be interested to see how that, once their engineer is going to treat that. My only real sentiment is it looks like the garage is kind of shoehorned in. There's a house on the adjacent lot that is doesn't show up on the survey, and it's kind of like an optical illusion. Bruce and I almost thought it was on the same property when you stand out there. So there's going to be concerns to make sure we get all the necessary separation distances, et cetera. But in reality, from an erosion control plan standpoint, most of the site is substantially developed. And there's a whole series, if you look closely at the survey, of walls and walkways that kind of step down to the lake. And if the engineer does the correct job, he ought to be able to use a lot of those stone walls and step downs as barriers with a little improvement of silt fence and other things. So I don't think there's going to be any real major issues here. But quite honestly, there's nothing in the packet yet. They don't have the engineer on board. So there's not a lot for us to work with yet. But as we get all that information and as it develops, I'm sure we will have more comments.
And one other thing to add with respect to the stormwater is, many, if not most of the lakes in Kent are impacted by elevated nutrient levels, specifically phosphorus, which is causing substantial algal blooms. So what we're looking to do is to make sure during construction within the watersheds and on the lakes that there's no net increase in post-construction phosphorus from what is existing pre-construction levels. So that is something that can be done as a separate calculation, and perhaps, as Dennis is suggesting, there may be, in addition to an erosion sediment control plan needed, some stormwater structures needed to ensure there's no net increase in phosphorus. And that could be done preferably using something called the simple method, which would identify phosphorus as the nutrient of concern and using pre and post calculations to a certain design point. And John could certainly speak to that kind of thing better than I can. But that's something we'd be looking to do to make sure there's no phosphorus increase from this construction that's going into the lake.
Thank you. Liz, you have something to add? Have we lost Liz?
I got one more.
Please, Dennis.
The driveway into the site appears to be on an adjacent property. Is there a recorded easement that driveway has every right, title, and interest in being on another piece of property? Or if there's not an easement, there probably should be one executed.
Yeah, it's a good question, Dennis. The other thing that comes to mind, this is a very, as you can see, a very steeply sloping site in some areas. And one of the things I think the architects might want to consider is also taking a look at the existing driveway profile, just to make sure, that emergency vehicles can get down there easily. It is steep and has a couple of tight turns, so just something to look at.
So we'll review the deed to verify the easement status. And also we'll look at the driveway. I mean, obviously, changing the driveway would be of great concern in terms of increasing our area of disturbance. It doesn't fall into the range of, the 250 feet or whatever the maximum is, or the minimum, the maximum that's permitted by New York State without turnaround radiuses and pullover areas. So we're well within, the distance that prevents that. So I don't see that being an issue. Bruce, I do want to speak to your concern about the addition of the shower into the office. In our preview meetings with members of this group, we were told that a shower is permitted, and we're asked to put a note on there that so that it's recorded into the documents that this is not to be used as a residence, and we've added that note as we were directed, and we're also informed that not having a kitchen would determine that as not being a residential space.
Yeah, no, I sure do recall that conversation, and we just want to make sure that language is correct, so that it doesn't become an apartment, a living space, without planning board review. So we'll have a look at that as we go along. Appreciate it.
And just for the record, Bruce and I didn't get these drawings. We got the application. We didn't get these drawings till today. So we haven't really had a chance to delve too much deeply into the drawings. And we did have 2 prior meetings. And I think most of these issues were talked about, because I think your original meeting, you were going to have the garage in a different location with a different driveway altogether. And I think there was some investigation. If I recall, you even had a conversation with the highway superintendent, I think, about what that the existing driveway. So we'll have to just revisit that and just make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm sorry. We had explored a couple different options for locations and decided that the option A, which we had originally discussed with you and had explored, that this works the best for us. So this is what we had.
No, in concept, we have no problem with it. We just need to get, as Dennis indicated, we just need to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Great. Okay.
And I just want to, I know that you dealt with the whole dwelling unit issue. One thought is, I can't tell from looking at zoning, like if somebody wanted to rent it as like a little hotel room, like an Airbnb, where somebody isn't expecting to have cooking facilities, is that something that's under consideration for this space?
No, it's not. Definitely not.
Okay.
The family currently, it's a family of 4 and 2 professionals who need their private office space. Obviously, case in point right now, we all need our space to have our meetings.
Yep.
And Zoom isn't going away, I don't think. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Gentlemen, any other questions? Liz, is there anything that we should do about this today?
You know, I haven't reviewed this because it was erosion sedimentation, but I don't think so. And Bruce is shaking his head no.
No, Mr. Chairman, this is John. There is nothing to do.
Oh,
We need to get
right.
into the details and quite honestly, the fact that they don't have their civil engineer fully on board yet, there is real no substance other than some of the basic stuff that Bruce and I can delve into, but we will prepare comment memos for next meeting and have them ready for the board's consideration.
Great, thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hartford, is there anything else we can do for you tonight?
Yeah, so just to let you know, we do have John Kalin signed on and he has begun his work. So we'll be submitting his package soon. He was hopeful to have that together for tonight. I thought that was a little hopeful. But
And please try to get your material in a little sooner rather than the day before the meeting.
I wanted to be clear, we did submit our package fully to you. This is dated March 15th, I think. This is
The 20th was the required date. We submitted digitally at that point, and then were requested to drop off hard copies, which were done first thing in the week.
All right, very good, thank you.
And we were also prepared for the workshop that was scheduled, 2 weeks ago. So we had our material to you.
I guess that's all we need to do on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I look forward to.
And we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Okay. Good start. Good start.
Great. Thank you. Good to see you all.
Get it all together and get it going.
Great.
Is there anyone here representing Goldfine Ryan?
Whoever is sharing the screen, you can stop now. There you go.
Mr. Chairman, there probably isn't, but if I may, Michael Rinn, the current owner, I believe, and former project sponsor, actually submitted a request for the final release of his bond. I conducted a field inspection on May 18th. That was a follow-up to 2 inspections done last year. And in looking at everything, final site stabilization has been completed. The site it's a beautiful site. The areas of concern where there was some vegetation not fully established have now been established. They've been established in most cases since November of 2019. The board reduced the amount of the bond back in September of 2020. You hold a nominal amount, about $5,000, that was conditioned on conducting an inspection in the spring of 2021, verifying that the existing vegetation is in good shape. It is my sentiment that that vegetation is good. It is rather substantial, and it is my recommendation that the board fully recommend to the town board that they fully release the held erosion and sediment control bond.
Thank you, John. Bruce or Liz, do you have anything to add to this?
No.
Gentlemen, do you have any questions?
No.
No.
Can I get a motion to recommend to the town board to release the bond for Goldfine Rin?
For the amount of
$5,000.
Well, there's no specific amount. $5,000 or so.
Yes.
motion.
I'll second.
And a second? Did you second?
I'll second.
Wait, Stephen? Okay. Hugo, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Giancarlo?
Aye.
Simon?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Richie, tell us why you're here.
I'm here for the release of the bond for the erosion control, and engineer John Andrews had came out to inspect a couple weeks ago, and so I'm here.
John?
Mr. Chairman, you should have a memo. It was dated June 7th. but actually he had submitted his necessary paperwork. There was a minor discrepancy that had to be cleared up, and it took a couple extra days on his behalf to get his engineer to correct it, which he did. But as he'd indicated, I did a site inspection on May 18th. Site and house construction is substantially complete. The first 30 feet of the driveway have been paved. There was a site inspection conducted in November 18th of last year. The site was fully stabilized at that time with a couple areas that were mulched and seeded, and the vegetation was starting to blossom but wasn't quite finished. He also needed a driveway waiver, which you folks did grant, and then he has subsequently paved the driveway. So the site is now fully stabilized. He submitted the notice of termination, and that's been completed and signed, and I imagine he's filed it with the EC. There was an erosion control bond in the amount of $8,930 accepted by the planning board and subsequently accepted by the town board. The notice of termination is the technical document that starts the two-year window. But as with other single-family home projects, the board has seen fit to reduce the 2-year waiting period for the return of a bond so long as the vegetation survives at least one winter. Based on the inspections conducted in November and the one conducted in this spring, we recommend that it's appropriate for you to release the full amount of the erosion control bond. Bruce was pretty satisfied, as was Julie, with the vegetation last year. Some of it in a couple areas was a little sparse. They just wanted to make sure it made it through the winter. It made it through the winter with flying colors. So it is my recommendation that you reduce the 2-year waiting period to having lived through one winter, and further recommend to the town board that they release the full amount of the currently held erosion control bond.
And the escrow? On the agenda, it also lists escrow.
If I'm not, Mr. Chairman, I'll be candid, I'm not fully familiar with your policy, but I see no further need on my part for escrow. I would just ask that Vera hold the escrow until I issue a bill that she acknowledges as final. And,
Yeah, I already do that.
And I see no problem with releasing the escrow.
I can't hear a thing.
The
Hold
dog
on.
bark in the background. If you could mute your microphone, please. Thank you.
I not knowing what the procedure is, I have no problem releasing the escrow. There'll probably be a bill for this evening's time, a nominal amount, but I'll get that out as quickly as possible. So it would be a twofold matter. Release of the bond and release of escrow, as far as I can tell. Bruce, do you have anything else to say?
And we have to
I'm sorry, Vera?
we have to wait till the next town board meeting anyway, so that's like in 2 weeks. So I really like invoices before then.
No problem.
Thanks.
No, I have no problem.
Okay.
Liz?
I have no issue with this. I know that Vera has been very diligent about following up bills, and there are some delays that are beyond
And gentlemen, do you have any questions?
her control.
Can I get a motion to ask the town board to return an $8,930 erosion control bond to Mr. Othma and to reduce the 2-year waiting period?
Just note that it's a surety bond too.
And the surety bond too.
No, it is a surety
Oh, okay.
bond.
I'll make that motion, Phil.
And a second, please.
I'll second it.
And Hugo, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Giancarlo?
Aye.
Simon?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
And I vote aye too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Thank you, Rich.
Rich.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
You got it.
No problem.
Is there anybody here representing Patel Laundromat?
Probably not.
Okay, who wants to talk about this?
I can.
Please.
So a letter was submitted by Mr. Amit Patel, dated May 19th, 2021, withdrawing applications on 2 projects. So one of them was the next item on your agenda, Patel Laundromat. And the other one is Best Discount Depot. And so he has written a letter asking.
So we're doing these 2 together, Liz?
Well, they're both his
Okay.
properties, and he's submitted a letter withdrawing for both applications.
I like
And
it.
so-
I like it.
Yeah, and, you know, I have to just put in a little note that these are great projects, and, you know, maybe he'll change his mind and come back. But for
Right.
now, they don't need to be on the agenda anymore, and
Okay.
there's no action for the board to take.
All right, thank you. So we go below the line now? Oh, why don't we do this? Before we go below the line, we have to talk about the Phragmites control. It's being done by the State Department of Parks and Recreation or something like that.
Yeah, the DEC.
We got notices from them. Who would like to speak about this, Liz or Bruce?
I can kind of jump in here. If you recall, what you did is you authorized Liz to respond to the lead agency request that was circulated. She generated a response. It was circulated to everybody. And they said, and basically what she said is, we take no exception to you assuming the position of lead agency. We attach here a couple of our codes, and we anticipate compliance with those code sections. You got an interesting email, I think it was today, from a young lady who appears to be an associate counsel with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. She's an attorney. And she basically says, hey, I'm following up as a courtesy, interesting choice of words. Please let me know when you might be available to discuss. I would like to understand the board's position regarding a town wetlands permit for a project that will occur on state lands. Bruce and I had a conversation earlier today. We both find this wording somewhat peculiar because usually the state automatically asserts the fact that they're not responsible for compliance with town zoning. Interestingly enough, this is not a zoning provision. This is a town code provision. I would suggest, and my recommendation would be to you, that since an attorney reached out and which to discuss this with you, I would suggest that you have your attorney respond to her. I would recommend that the chairman have a quick conversation with Jeff.
You don't think we should just invite her to come to one of our meetings?
If you want to invite her to come to one of your meetings, that would be fine as well. But if she is on the meeting, on the Zoom meeting, Jeff should be on the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
I have a, pardon me, and this is no disrespect to attorneys, I have a natural distrust of government attorneys. And it's just an interesting position. Usually they say no right out of the box. This one, I think they have a concern that they may be responsible for compliance and would like you to relinquish that and say, oh, don't worry about it. I don't think that's what this board intended. I don't think that's what the law suggests. So as a consequence, while I don't think it's wrong to invite her, I think it might be easier handled for a quick conversation between the chairman and Jeff, and then Jeff with her, which says, hey, we expect compliance. The code says what it says. If you have an alternate position, please advise us in writing, and we'll go from there.
I just have to say, I think, oh, go ahead, Bruce. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say the backstory on this is about, I don't know, a couple of years ago, the town board amended the current wetlands law to be co-jurisdictional with the DEC on DEC wetlands, which are basically wetlands that are 12.4 acres in size or larger, or wetlands that are considered of special concern. And in so doing, have permitting authority over all of those wetlands in addition to the what are called town wetlands, which the jurisdictional size is 40,000 square feet and up. And so that was a substantive change. And there's nowhere in the code that exempts a governmental agency from following those ordinances. And so that being said, you know, John and I were talking about it, and it seems that this would be something that Jeff Battistoni should be able to review and make a recommendation to the planning board as to how to proceed.
All right, thank you, Bruce.
And Bruce, their code is what they're going to try to go on and saying that they are not going to be compliant. Like I mentioned before, with these local jurisdictions, the state entities and the federal entities usually end up complying with the local jurisdiction.
They do.
Fighting the battle.
They do. You're absolutely right, Steve. That's been my experience, and you know, that might be the case here. This is a little bit different. This is kind of a spread out action, not only involving the town of Kent, and I think they're probably just trying to find a way to get to do the work that they're looking to do, and not have it be very complicated. So I suspect she's wanting to try to work their way through to get this completed and get the work done they want to do to remediate the Phragmites. So I think it can be kept at a simple level, and you know, if there is an exemption somewhere in the state law relative to this, then so be it. They can show Jeff that and move on, and if not, they can go through the permit process and we'll go accordingly.
Great.
Can I add something?
Please.
So I just read the email through, and I didn't put much time into it except to do the seeker part, because this is more of a Bruce and John thing with stormwater, erosion, sedimentation control, and wetlands. So, but I've also had the experience in the past where a school district down in North Salem didn't have to come to the planning board, but they voluntarily did. Same thing, New York City DEP was replacing a bridge. It was near historic features. They voluntarily came before the planning board. So I'm reading it thinking, is she saying that? So I don't know. And I do agree with both John and Bruce and everyone that it should be a discussion between attorneys.
Does everyone
Thank you.
agree?
Yeah, should.
And we will do it that way. We don't have to vote on this, I assume.
No.
No.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to have a conversation with Jeff, or would you like to have a conversation with
You
Jeff?
can do it, John. That'd be fine.
Okay. I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Now we can go below the line. Who's working tonight?
I would like to suggest something.
Oh, no.
Yes.
What's it gonna
Always,
cost?
always yapping. So there's one item right at the top of the below the line that we need to spend some time discussing. That's Holly. And the other items we could buzz through quickly. So can we do that? Skip Holly and do the others?
Oh, you want to skip Holly and do it at the end?
Yes, please.
Go right ahead.
So Benitez is not really familiar to me.
Benitez is the pool. Mrs. Benitez is on, I believe. That's Jacqueline's iPhone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
The board undertook this, I think it was last month. They placed it on an administrative tract to be handled by Bruce and myself upon the receipt of revised drawings. I received a revised drawing via email late this afternoon. I quite honestly haven't had a chance to take a look at it. We're going to need some time, but we'll try to move it along as quickly as we can. There is no further need to come back to the board unless Ms. Benitez had made a change, which I didn't see on the drawings.
No.
Well, the only thing that I saw, Ms. Benitez, is that there appeared to be on the drawing a rectangular area for a pool filter or pool equipment on a concrete pad or some type of pad, and that is within the zoning setbacks that you're showing. I think you need to check with Bill Walters to see if that would be in need of a variance, or more simply, if you might be able to relocate that pad outside of that zoning setback and forego that discussion and that need for any zoning variances. The other thing that I looked at real quickly is John had mentioned there's one area that kind of everything drains to go under the fence, kind of towards the neighbor's house there. And I think John was looking for some erosion controls, some simple silt fencing in that area in general. Correct if I'm wrong, John?
I was, but I quite honestly didn't even have a chance to
Something
look
you
at the
could
plan.
Yeah, I had a real quick look. So maybe the best thing to do is to give us a couple of days to review it, Ms. Benitez, and it looks very straightforward and very simple to do. We just have a couple odds and ends to discuss.
Okay,
All right.
no problem. Thank you.
Thanks
Do
a
you have
lot
any other
for joining
questions
us.
for us?
Bruce, you picked up on that pool filter. I was going to ask that question. It
I'm
should be inside the building envelope.
I'm getting the hang of it after all these years, Dennis.
Ms. Benitez, do you have any other questions for us?
No, regarding the pool filter, we can move it. We have plenty of space in the backyard to
Yeah,
work
you
with.
do.
Perfect answer.
You got a lot. Yeah, you got a lot of room over there.
You could.
Yeah, we do,
the-
so that's not
I
a
think you could have
problem.
had the pool filter in the setback, but it's the pad that triggers the zoning.
Yes. Yes. So if you can put that in another location outside of that setback, you're heading towards the races, Ms. Benitez.
Okay, no problem. So do you need me to resubmit the drawing?
I wouldn't do anything until you get comments from Bruce and I. Rather than try to piecemeal something, it's better to get all the comments, make one set of revisions and then move on.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, no
you.
problem. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Liz?
So 52 Kent Court, Mazzada, I did get a submittal for the conditions of approval. I was partway through reviewing it, and I hope to get a memo out next week. I'm hoping that everything's addressed and it'll be a sign off. GADF, similarly, I got a submittal. The one condition they needed to address was addressed. I just need to write up a sign off letter, and those two hopefully will be ready for Phil to sign. Route 52 development, there's nothing new. Kent development commercial lot, we're expecting conditions of approval submittal. Kent self-storage was a reapproval. There's nothing to do on that. And then we're down to Rodriguez, Ranieri, and Vitiello.
John?
Well, I don't know anything about Rodriguez. I think we're still waiting. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
Nothing new.
Yeah.
Ranieri, we had a conversation. Mr. Ranieri was on the last consultants meeting. He has been joined by a new consultant, Bob Bradley, and they were provided with the last set of comments from Bruce, myself, and I believe even Liz had some on that one. They are working their way through it, and I think they're planning on making a submission so that we can be on the agenda for next month. Is that true, Vera?
We actually just got a submission for a review, and so hopefully this will be for the next month's meeting.
Okay, I didn't see it. Okay,
Just got it.
Brand new.
great.
That's a tough site. That's a tough site. There's a lot of things to look at and be careful with. The drainage and all that stuff, and culverts under the driveway, and that's a tough site.
Vitiello, the last correspondence we had from them is they were making some additional modifications, and as soon as they had a plan, they'd get it back to us. It's going into the void. We haven't seen anything, and there's no action that we can take until we do see something, because that, again, is something the board placed on an administrative track, so long as they followed certain specific guidelines. And again, we haven't seen anything, so I can't answer that.
Shall we talk about the town of Kent mining law?
I don't know of anything new.
No.
We
Good.
prepared a proposal and submitted it, and we haven't heard. So
And
eventually we will.
Holly, we have to,
Yes, there isn't anything else. It's now Holly Winkler. Is Mr. Bradley on? No?
Bob, are you there?
No? Okay. So I think the board knew that there was a draft stipulation in the works. And Jeff Battistoni provided that, and Bruce and John Andrews and I went over it. Spoke to Jeff, went over it some more. And I did copy you all on a June 4 email. Anyway, so after all that consultation and a couple versions of a draft stipulation, Bruce and Jeff and John were okay with some of the changes I was proposing. And I sent that out. One of the things that I did do was to get clarity on what are the numbers of units, bedrooms, bathrooms already on the site? What is the proposal adding? And what would the total resulting number of units, bedrooms, et cetera, be? And the idea there was to define what's existing, what's proposed, what will ultimately totally result on the site to give the outer limits of what can be developed. So that took a little bit of time. So you have the June 4/21 email and the attachment, and in there I explained the process because it was being copied to town board representatives and also Supervisor Fleming, her secretary, and Nancy Tagliafiero, the town board attorney. So I tried to give some background on the process and attached the revised draft. And at the end of that, I indicated that we should just discuss this. There isn't any action for the planning board to take at this time. And, you know, I'm also looking for your comments or questions. If you had any comments or questions on that.
We have a final version of this from
That was
Jeff
attached.
and all?
Jeff, here's what happened. Jeff had created a draft.
Right.
And then he sent it to Bruce, John, and I.
Right.
And we reviewed it. I got some comments from Bruce and John, and I made some revisions, and then I sent the revised item back out to all three of them, the attorney and Bruce and John. And they gave me the okay on the revised draft based on everybody's comments. And that was the item that was sent out. That will, you know, the town board will probably put it on a town board agenda. And I need to go back to Jeff and say, what do we do next? You know, but
This
I
has to
wanted
be
this.
okayed by the town board?
Well, first I want to know if you're okay with the draft stipulation. Have you had time to look at it?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it.
Well, there's another step here too, that stipulations require both parties to agree.
Right.
Yes.
So what Liz has done is crafted an instrument which I think Bruce, myself, Liz, and Jeff are all comfortable with. If the planning board's comfortable with it, that document would serve as the planning board's recommendation. It would then need to go to Bradley
Right.
and his team to see what they think of it. And I think that what's unclear here is this really is a town board matter. And even though the planning board is the first entity, I think at some point in time, it's going to have to be executed by the town board as well as the planning board. So that's why the town board is involved.
Okay.
And just so everybody knows, at the end of my email, I did say that this would be forwarded to the applicant's representative, Robert Bradley, in a subsequent email, and it was forwarded to him.
Oh, all right, good.
And I haven't heard anything back, but maybe his client's attorney is reviewing it.
Well, we shouldn't forward it to the town board until we hear back from Bob Bradley, right?
Well, we already sent it to Maureen.
Oh, okay.
And her secretary, and then because Chris Ruthven and Jamie are also,
liaisons, right?
you know, liaisons. So most of the town board has it.
All
I
right,
don't
no,
know
it's not a problem.
And what I don't know, Phil, is whether the town board has discussed it, but they will probably do that in executive session or attorney-client privilege session. I don't know whether Nancy Tagliafiero and Jeff Battistoni have had a discussion.
Right. And none of us have heard a response from Bob Bradley.
I haven't heard anything.
All right, sounds good. Gentlemen, you have any questions about this?
No.
Did anybody have any problem with any of the language or the numbers of units?
No.
It, yeah, I read through it. To me anyways, it looks like the stuff that we kind of brainstormed about there a couple months ago. And put the applicants on notice that they've got a lot of information that they need to submit.
Well, we put in clauses to make
And-
sure, oh, sorry.
I think he's frozen.
I think Dennis froze.
I think he's
There you
frozen.
go.
Hello?
Yeah, you're back.
His camera's froze, his voice is back.
Keep talking, Dennis.
No, I got it. It tells it like we talked about to put this whole thing together.
Yeah, well, hopefully it puts
The
us in
applicants
rest.
know they need to submit all the new technical information and proceed right through the planning board activities. We got some work in front of us here.
Okay. And we have nothing that we need to do about it right now, of course.
Nope.
No.
And in fact, they can't submit an application. Well,
They
we
shouldn't
can't-
submit an application
Right.
until this stipulation is
Right.
in place.
there you go.
Does anybody have any questions or comments
No,
about anything?
not right now.
I'll just tell Liz that the laundromat, you were saying it might come back. I doubt it. They put it up for sale.
Yeah, I doubt it too. I just think it's unfortunate, but
We need business in this town, and I can't believe we're fighting anybody that's trying to do business in this town.
Vera, you're muted.
Vera, you're muted.
Okay.
You're still muted.
You're still muted.
still
You went-
muted.
You put it on for a minute and then clicked it back off.
Okay, is it okay now?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Good.
I just want to tell you guys, I spoke to Charlie again today. He was back in the hospital last week. He had a really bad infection, but he's doing much better. And, he's just had to tell you guys that, he's going to miss you all too. But I don't know, like I was going to ask you guys if you wanted to do something, in recognition of all the years, because he's been on since 2008.
Sure.
Yep.
So
Of
I
course,
don't know.
good.
So what do you guys think? What do you want to do?
What can we do in
Well,
person, a card? I mean,
Gift certificate for takeout?
Take them
Yeah,
out to dinner.
Yeah.
gift card.
You can go to Neeson's.
Well, it would be good, it would be good to get him a plaque or something.
Right.
well, I was gonna do that too. I was gonna ask, Tamara does like certificates from the town board,
Good.
that I was gonna do that as well. But I thought like Liz said, a gift card to like one of the restaurants for like takeout, because he's not really going out anywhere anyway. So I don't know if we collected maybe like, I don't know, $8 or $9 from everybody. That would probably be good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
You want us to send you checks?
Yeah, you could do that. And another thing too, you guys have to, I have to, Phil asked me to ask the town board to advertise for a new member. And so I was going to do that, but I don't know, I guess, should we vote on that or not?
No, you don't have to vote on that.
Okay. But then I just have your permission then to do that.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Unfortunately.
Good
I wish he stayed, because I think it would help him.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned to him, I said, we still need alternates. So maybe later on, if he's feeling better, he could be an alternate.
Yeah. That's
We
true.
need to replace Neeson.
Right, I know.
Maybe we should advertise for 2 positions.
Well, again, I was gonna do that anyhow, but I mean, Nissim, I thought we did make him an alternate.
We
But,
did.
He's an alternate.
Yeah, I know, because
Yeah.
we haven't really heard from him anyway, but I was gonna ask them to, yeah, advertise, see how many, people we get anyway.
Good. Please.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all I really had to say.
All right. Thank you, Vera.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything to add?
Nope.
Can I get a motion to close the meeting, please?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
And Hugo, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Simon?
Aye.
Giancarlo?
Aye.
And I vote aye too. The meeting is closed. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
See you next
Good night.
month.
Enjoy the
Good night,
Hold the
take
weekend.
water
care.
and stay safe.